BIR's endurance round certainly weighed heavier on some more than others. It was a tough task on a tough track, but Salehi and Seca stepped up to the challenge. Tonight, instead, the challenge flips things around. Drivers will swap classes and get to see if the grass is truly greener on the other side as we get ready to watch round 11 of the Porsche Owners Club Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Laguna Seca is a circuit many of our drivers have driven on in the real world. To see what it's like ourselves, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Laguna Seca. Located just east of Monterey, California, it's hard to deny that this is one of the more scenic American road courses. It travels up and down a hillside which not only offers spectacular views, but one of racing's most iconic corners. Clocking in at 2¼ miles in length, 11 turns split up the current configuration. I say current because up until 1988, the track's layout was shockingly simple with a mere 9 dangerously fast corners. But despite becoming a much more technical track, this difficult nature was retained in its modern form. Turn 6 in particular places an emphasis on precision and daring with its tricky dip at the apex and narrow racing line. But the most well-known spot on the track is of course the corkscrew. Blind and kinked on entry, it then whips the driver through a chicane which drops you nearly 60 feet. It's earned a reputation worldwide for forcing even the most daring competitors to second-guess themselves. But there's honestly a refreshingly wide variety in types of corners, making it a perfect track for driver coaching and training. Elevation changes, differing cambers, and every sort of apex imaginable leaves seasoned veterans and newcomers alike spending hours trying to perfect a lap. With the track becoming popular for hosting IMSA, IndyCar, and MotoGP in its recent history, it also brings out lots of vintage racers due to the Monterey historics each year. Likely to remain a fixture on the American racing scene, this legendary circuit is almost always high on drivers' best of lists. Its history and its uniqueness are sure to delight all for years to come. Well, Adam, Monterey is no stranger to sports cars, so I have a feeling that these Porsches will be right at home.
Absolutely, Joe. One of the most unique tracks in the world, Laguna Seca provides a challenge for every vehicle that drives on it. Its hilly, dusty, winding 11 turns spanning 2.24 miles or 3.6 kilometers are an especially interesting challenge for the mid-engine Porsches we'll see gracing the track today. The Andretti hairpin will be a challenging place to maximize pace, as the loose on braking Porsches will want to over-rotate as you turn in for this more than 180-degree hairpin and try to carry speed to the unbanked turn 3, which threatens to spit you out into the dusty dirt at the bottom of the quarry. A quick series of banked turns later, and you're climbing the hill towards the terrifying corkscrew with a braking zone that crests another quick hill. This is the point that I'd expect to see most of our contact tonight, as it is so very easy to brake too late or lock up going into the corkscrew, and if you do, anyone on the outside will be an innocent victim of a torpedo. The challenging turn 11 also sees some decent contact, as people often take the corner too shallow and get spit out into the dirt on the exit of the corner as well. Multi-class here will be interesting, as there should be plenty of places to effect a pass, but often drivers get tangled up trying to keep their momentum going on the short laps around here at WeatherTech Raceway. Add to that the drama of the last round and its points shakeup in GT1, and we've got a recipe for a tense 30-minute race, Joe.
Absolutely. Well, before we get to that 30-minute race, let's go over our sponsors, which of course includes Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. As well as Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. And finally, Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. We look at those GT1 points up at the top. Brian Salehi back to the front. Michael Johnson still seeking that win, but he's only 3 points behind. And it's another 3 down to Travis Brown. So you can tell it is remaining very close at the front. of the field. Corey Lotvilla trying to find his way back into things with BJ Fulton, the distant 39 points, but there's still much of the season to go. Adam, I believe you've got the GT2 standings.
Absolutely. GT2 is a little bit more spread out at this point with Jerry Freckleton 34 points over Joe Momeyer, and that's going to be interesting, especially considering Momeyer has 2 poles over Freckleton 0, but can't seem to close the wins as often, with Freckleton 3 wins over Momeyer's 1. And we have another 23 points back to Jason Edwards and another couple of points back to Tyler King and Adam Fulton, who are fairly close together. But Momeyer needs to start making inroads on Freckleton, otherwise this points championship is going to start to run away from him.
Well, today the rails are going to be kind of interesting because the race is mostly normal. Of course, we're in round 11 out of 24, and there's the 2 different makes of cars. But as we mentioned in the intro, our drivers who are competing have switched classes of what they normally run, so they will still score points until they're to their normal class, but they're getting a taste of what the other ones will be racing in today in this 30-minute event. They're in the midst of qualifying right now, with Mark Rondeau holding the provisional pole here in the GT1 class. Hagendick right now is the one leading our GT2 class out there in the Porsche Caymans, and he's got about a 10th over Abrams, so that could switch around. And this is the class that Abrams last season was incredibly mighty in, so he's obviously having a little bit easier time here than he did in those GTE cars.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this works out for each of the drivers. It's also going to be interesting to see how today's GT2 drivers, who are usually the GT1 drivers, what kind of respect they give to their today GT1 driver compatriots that are driving along the track, because these GT2 drivers are used to being in the faster class and used to having a sort of unspoken right of way on track, and that's going to be an interesting factor to see how that sort of social dynamic among the drivers ends up playing out as we watch the rest of this race.
There's CPAC trying to take the pole away from Rondeau, but he's got to make up half a second to do it. This time he crosses the line, and it's not going to be an improvement, so we'll have to cycle around a few more times, see if he can get it. Shulam also doesn't improve. That looks like that was maybe an outlap for him, actually. Yeah, I'm kind of curious, Adam, because this track is not known for being great for multi-class racing, so for them to switch around at this place seems like it could be quite a test.
Yeah, IMSA runs their Michelin Tire Motorsports Challenge here, which is GT4s and GT3s, and oftentimes you will see those 2 classes get into a little bit of contact, especially down at the bottom of the quarry. Turns 3, 4, and 5 is where you see a lot of contact between them. The corkscrew doesn't seem to cause issues for the real life drivers as much, and knowing that a lot of these guys race their Porsches on this circuit in real life as well, I would expect that we will probably see less contact with our corkscrew than we do in our normal virtual races, but it'll still be a point of contention, especially with the swapped classes.
Been waiting for Aaron Edwards to get one on the timing screen, and he's failed to set a time after 4 attempts. Hopefully he can get a clean one in and join his GT1 compatriots. CPEC, all right, here we go. Another try at it. A 19.7 is his fastest. He's got to get close to a 19.1 to have a shot, and it looks like he had an off track that time, as it will not count for him. We switch over to BJ Fulton, who is currently in the 6th place in the GT2s. He flies down through the corkscrew and into Rainy Curve. These Caymans very, very different from those GTE Porsche RSRs.
Extremely different. The way that they feel is entirely different. The RSRs are pretty planted on throttle, whereas the Caymans tend to be a little bit loose on throttle. They're pretty much loose everywhere depending on how you get the car set up. And as you see there, Fulton just carrying a little bit too much speed through. That's going to be an off track for him, so his time will probably not count, as we see Freckleton coming up behind Fulton. And this is something that they're used to seeing, as we see Jed Duncan finish his lap, will actually start a flying lap for himself. But we're used to seeing these names passing each other, just not in this order.
Exactly. Now, I did get some interesting information last time we did a Laguna Seca race. Apparently, iRacing in one of the more recent builds extended the off track, so you can go quite far off of that final corner and still have it count. Basically, I think it goes out to the edge of the AstroTurf that they put there. CPAC is once again going to have trouble keeping it clean himself, though, as that lap didn't count for him. Hagendick down in the GT2s was not able to improve, but he still retains about a 10th over Abrams.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of people using that AstroTurf that we see Bossignon running out there to try and maximize the corner exit, and is until you put a full wheel into that gravel that you get that you are safe from an off track. So we will see a lot of that AstroTurf used, and they're not racking up incidents for that. So as we see Momeyer coming around, he is only in 7th place right now. He, with his 2 poles on this season, he's going to have to make an improvement here. So he's starting his first flying lap in a couple of minutes. He's only got 4 minutes left in qualifying.
Jad Duncan, looks like that one also going to suffer the wrath of the track limits and not go towards his attempts. Slavic will have his count, but he's about half a second off of his quickest lap.
Yeah, so Aaron Edwards starting a flying lap for him as well. Still not a clean lap at all. 9 laps on this particular. Actually, no, that one was a clean lap for him. So unfortunately, he does have a lap time set in. I'll put him 10th in class, but it was clean, so he gets that qualifying lap set in.
Yeah, it's a little bit off the pace, unfortunately. Robin from 9th will not go any higher. It looks like he was on outlap. Hagendick across again. A 28.4 will not be an improvement. 4/10 off of his fastest, as Latvala now gives it a go, but that also looks like an outlap for him. What about Jacob Abrams? It's been a while since we've seen him on the top step, but this might be his best chance of the season. The 7.28 trying to improve on a 28.2. And a 28.4 is certainly not going to do the job.
Yeah, for these normal GT1 drivers, the GT2 cars probably just feel like they have absolutely no acceleration. But then you put the thing into the corners, and you're wondering why it doesn't want to go through them either. And it'll feel a little sluggish for these guys, but at the same time, very exhilarating because of how free that GT4 car is. So here's Brian Slay trying to set another faster lap and move his way up the board.
He just took over the points lead, so he's going to want a good result today. I'm a bit surprised to see Michael W. Johnson also struggling out there. He's not even on track, but the 9, who typically runs within the top 5, even though he hasn't had a win, is qualified in 7th right now. So something isn't really jiving with Michael and that GT2 car.
And this is such a hard track, Joe, to tackle in a car that you're not as familiar with. Especially the corkscrew. The corkscrew is a challenging turn to take for any car and any driver, but especially in a car that you're not used to driving. I mean, it's just, it's a good thing that we're running these virtual machines, because in real life, I'd be terrified approaching the corkscrew in a machine where I wasn't as comfortable with how it rotated under braking as I would be in a car that I was used to driving.
It's coming down to it now. Abrams will have maybe one more lap. Yeah, he's got 1 lap left as he crosses the line, and he'll need it because the 28.3 will not give him the pole. Freckleton, sitting in 4th, will get a 22 or 120 flat, and he's about a 10th off of his fastest. Oh, so close. Shulam, looks like that will not be an improvement to 20.8. Still not quite there.
Bad news in the GT2 championship for Momeyer. He's decided not to take the remainder of his laps, so he's pulled off. Freckleton's still running, trying to set a faster lap, so Momeyer will start at best 8th position, and Freckleton at worst 4th.
Salehi also not able to get a quicker one. All these drivers that are starting a new lap will be able to complete it, even though they have less than a lap's worth of time on the clock. If they start a flyer within that range, they are allowed to finish it. Travis Brown, only 2 laps counted. That's good enough for 5th, but he's really struggling to keep it together.
This is Michael Robin coming across the line, trying to improve from 129.1. Can't do so. So once again, another driver on a flying lap to try and finish this out. Matt Hollander, same thing. He does improve by about 2/10. So Matt Hollander good inroads there. And then we got Doug coming across the line with 1:32.20 off of a 1:29 is his best time. He's got some work to do. Here's Cypek starting his final flying leg. No, he doesn't make it across the line in time.
And he doesn't get a time out of it, so he will not be able to take the pole. Freckleton improved. He's up to 4th in the GT1s. Then it's Latvala who finishes off his qualifying but doesn't set a faster time. After that, you've got Alan Stad down in 10th in the GT2 class. He's got quite a ways to go to get up to the fastest in his class. And a 29.3 will be an improvement, but it will not take him up the order.
And Alan will be our final driver. So very interesting qualifying here with the new class, the new classes that they're driving for this race. It's going to be fascinating to see how the race runs right now, Joe.
Absolutely. And well, that means Mark Rondeau is going to put it on pole. And I want to say that might be, no, it's his 3rd pole actually. So he's following up that form with CPEC behind him in 2nd. And then on the inside of the next row, Jerry Freckleton starting from 3rd. You've got Jad Duncan starting in P4 and Jim Slavic in the 5th position. Adam Fulton will start from 6th, followed by Shulam in 7th, Momeyer 8th, Haas 9th, and Aaron Edwards rounding out the top 10.
And we get Eric Hajendick on pole for the GT2 class today with Jacob Abrams in 2nd place. Ryan Salehi's going to start off in 3rd with that great final lap time. Corey Latvala starting off in 4th position with Travis Brown in 5th. BJ Fulton starting off in 6th place with Michael W. Johnson all the way back in 7th. Not a great qualifying for him. Then we've got Doug Baccignoni starting off in the 8th spot with Michael Robin in 9th. Alan Stad going to start off 10th. And Matt Hollander, last driver to set a time, in 11th spot with Eric Oviat starting off in 12th position. And your 22 cars overall today.
All right, waiting for the cars to grid up, which will happen at any moment now. It looks like they're putting themselves out on the grid. They'll get a single pace lap to get everything warmed up and ready to go. So it looked like track limits a big problem for many of the drivers in the qualifying. Now, while it only discounts a lap, of course, in the Q session, during the race here, we see the corkscrew, Adam, and cut courses there. We've seen that decide races sometimes.
Absolutely. A cut course penalty, which you will get if you go across that inside. And as we see, there's plenty of displaced dirt there. Drivers have been taking their liberties there. That's definitely going to affect you. It can slow you down. You get about 2.5 seconds, as far as I remember, cutting the course there at that particular section. And that's a lot of time to give up. And you've got to give it up during one of the faster portions of the curves. That's through Rainy Curve 10 and 11. And usually you're not able to give it up until you exit 11. So it affects your straight line speed on the back, on the start-finish straight. And that can really, really negatively affect you over the course of the race. And also while you're battling at the end.
Interesting to note about CPEC starting on that front row, is that was his first win last week, or 2 weeks ago rather, that we saw. We'll see if he can follow that up and try and beat out Rondeau, but Rondeau's been having trouble with his connection here, seeing him blinking in and out, which is not a good sign.
And Freckleton didn't make the grid.
Oh, wow. Is he, let's see, it looks like he's still in the sim right now. He'll have to start from pit lane, so he will be able to take part in the race, but this means he's got a lot of cars to pass here today at a track where passing can prove to be quite difficult.
Yeah, and this is a good news for Momeyer in his battle for that championship. He'll hopefully be able to claw a couple of points back from Freckleton, but we'll see whether Freckleton even shows up on pit lane, because he's still out of the car at the moment. So here's hoping he makes it. But as we start completing this lap, it's a fairly short lap around here. 125s are the fastest that we saw in the qualifying session. So fairly short lap, and these drivers all trying to get their tires warmed up at the moment.
And those GT1 class cars tend to put in some quite quick times. So they're going to be coming around to the back of those GT2 machines rather quickly. And then it'll be half an hour of trying to dice their way through that slower class without the extended experience that many of the drivers typically have in this series, trying to go by those cars. Already coming up to the corkscrew on the pace lap. They'll plunge down. You can see many of them electing to take it single file, and then they'll try and gather it back up side by side in these remaining few corners.
Absolutely. A double file through the corkscrew is sketchy at the best of times, and so it's worth taking, reducing that risk. But now we're going to see them start to double up as they come through Rainy Curve. And now we start to get interesting because the pace car will pull off before 11, and that'll give it an interesting start for Rondeau.
When will he choose to go? Is he going to give it a long wait, or will he try and accelerate as soon as he's out of that corner? He's now essentially got control of the field. He's given it a very slow start, incredibly slow. Green flag is out, and as he takes off, CPEC actually is right beside him. Gets just as good of a start. They got a little bit of a jump on third and fourth. Slavic and Duncan, they're going to be side by side up into the Andretti hairpin. And it looks like Rondeau's going to be able to retain that lead. CPEC slots into second. Slavic in third. Let's go to the GT2s.
Ajadik got a great start, and so did Jacob Abrams in second place, but Jacob actually not doing very good through the Andretti hairpin. It's still side by side for that fourth position. Oh no, Ajadik takes it too deep off of the corner. Too much throttle, and he's off.
Eric spins and goes to the back of the field. We got more spins in the GT1s. Haas looks to be around, and I think Shulam didn't see what caused it. We'll go back to it in a bit. Oh, no, it looks like we got the replay. This is just 371 of Shulam. Oh,
yeah, this is just a little bit of an experience here, and unfortunately that's added a lot of damage to some of those drivers out there, so quite a bit of damage for those drivers for sure. Rondeau still to a decent lead, but look at this side by side for between Duncan and Slavic.
Yeah, this is for fourth position. Looks like Duncan is going to take that one. So Rondeau, actually for third, I should say, is our timing and scoring a little bit messed up by Haas taking a toe. Big lockup from CPEC into the last corner.
And Michael W. Johnson off track.
Oh no. And through Rainy Curve. This is the replay. Ooh, it was already quite squirrely down into the corkscrew, and look at it. It started to go away from almost as soon as he turned in.
Absolutely. Cold tires starting to affect these guys at the beginning of this race. It's only 75 degrees on track, Joe, so it's very difficult to get the tires of these GT4s warmed up, and that could be a real challenge. But here's the battle for the lead with Salehi ahead of Abrams now.
Oh boy, Bayern is going to have to withstand some incredible pressure from Abrams, as we mentioned, known for being one of the fastest drivers all last season in this very car before he switched over to the GT1 class. So he is essentially now in his element, while others have been moved into something that's a little less comfortable. And you can see he's keeping him within practically a car length all the way around the track.
Absolutely, and they're actually going to come up on the back of Momeyer and Edwards. Aaron Edwards actually has had a problem. He's very slow on track.
Oh, he's off track. That's why the number 4 has hit the wall coming out of turn 6. Looks like he's able to get it going.
And this is weird. This is kind of a little bit of contact between himself and Momeyer, who had a cut course penalty that he was trying to serve. And Jim Slavic's into the pits now from the GT1 class, so things getting very spicy. And look at this. He's just having trouble getting back on track here.
Well, it looks like this has proven far more difficult than many of these drivers expected. And honestly, more difficult than I thought it would be for the GT1s. That's, like you said, it's such a planted car. It's got so many more aids.
Yeah, you think that, but then when you're trying to push it this hard, it's such a challenging car to get right. And especially, it does get loose on braking, just like the GT4 does. But it's a little surprising because it does feel fairly planted on throttle. So as we're watching this battle for first position in the GT2 class, Salehi's starting to pull away a little bit from Abrams, out to 0.6 of a second, but it's very tight all the way back to 6th position.
Yeah, that's BJ Fulton back there. Actually P5, as he trails behind Lotvilla, Brown, and Abrams. But I think Salehi's got it underneath him. He starts to pull away from the 728, getting himself a handy gap. This is before they start to be lapped by the GT1 cars, though. And it was a bad exit coming up the hill. The Rahal straight opens the door for Travis Brown. He manages to get side by side. And as they almost bang doors, oh, a little bit of contact maybe. Brown nearly goes off course. He falls back into third.
Very, very good job from them. And it looks like Bacignoni has actually had an incident through the corkscrew as well. We're going to watch this replay, though, because this is something you rarely do. Go side by side through the corkscrew, and they managed to get away with it without too much damage.
Maybe not contact. From that angle, it looked like they didn't actually touch.
Oh, Fulton's gone around in turn one, Joe.
Adam Fulton getting it going once again. And that was a self-spin. Let's stay here. This is an interesting fight as we watch Latvala behind Travis Brown. Oh, thought they were going to catch up to Abrams, who went wide through Andretti, but he gets the launch off of that double apexer.
Yeah, good launch for sure. And now look at this, trying to take a shallow entry through three. Now heading towards turn four. Looks like these drivers are starting to get the tires underneath them, and it's going to start to feel a little bit better for them. You can see Travis Brown having a little bit of a moment there up ahead of these guys. They're just trying to hang on to these cars, Joe. They're not super comfortable in them.
They don't look... Oh, and a little wide for Travis Brown. How brave is Latvala? They've also got, well, this is Slavic trying to get a lap back, actually, even though he's in the faster class. Remember, he had his issues right at the start. Latvala is not going to be able to peel it away from the 300 machine as they once again fly down the corkscrew.
So there you see Slavic with the large wing in back, the flat wing versus the curved wing of the GT4. So Slavic's going to be trying to cut his way through, but he's going to be pretty stuck up until they get to the front straight.
Should have a lot better pace down the front stretch, but he fancies a chance into turn 11, then decides against it. Off the corner as we ride on board with Jim. This is where the better power starts to come into play. He gets one. Oh, will he be able to get two here? No.
Yeah, and there's quite a few more drivers in here as well. Almost contact between the two of them, as Jerry Freckleton's also trying to get through as well. So Fulton able to sneak his way through. Slavic able to sneak his way through as well. But just a lot of multi-class going on here.
As we head up to Jad Duncan, CPEC has been keeping him honest too. This is for second place. We're going to watch from on board, Matt. Ooh, not quite as far into the curb as Duncan was, and you can see the effects as he suddenly puts quite a bit of distance between himself and the 16.
Absolutely. So a decent run there, and now diving into turn one. Yeah. CPEC really putting some pressure on Duncan. Rondeau looks like he's actually having a little bit of connection issues up at the front. About a 2.8 second gap between himself and Duncan.
Yeah, he's been having those connection issues since the beginning of this race. Leahy has been run down by Abrams now. Wonder if some of this is from some of the lapping cars. In fact, they're going to try and dive through them. And one of them goes completely off course. That was Jeffrey Shulam. The 371 manages not to go into the barriers, but he loses a whole heap of time. Let's take a look at that. Scary moments for the leaders in the GT2 class.
Absolutely, and they actually both backed out of it here a little bit because they saw a little bit of this coming, but that was a huge dive from Shulam, who just, I don't think, anticipated when the braking zone was coming. So he's made that work, but it's still close between Salehi and Abrams. And now Abrams with a bad exit off of 3 is going to mean Travis Brown is now tucked up right behind him, almost pushing him through 4.
Little bit of a hello. Oh, and Rondeau has lost the lead. Mark Rondeau, he had a half spin coming off of rainy curve, it looks like. Yeah, and that's what cost him the lead.
Yeah, so he's lost that position. He's trying to work it back. That's Bacignoni, who's still recovering from his own spin at the corkscrew. We're on board with CPEC right now as he's trying to chase down Rondeau ahead.
And it's changed around. Mark has had better pace. Oof, narrow gap that Duncan just squeezed through, going by the lapped car of Matt Hollander. Unfortunately, a horrible place for Rondeau. That Hot Wheels car gets checked up. CPEC as well has no place to go. They're going to lose a chunk of time to Duncan.
Well, CPEC gets his nose chopped.
Oh, and Rondeau's off. Rondeau's in the wall. Just glances the tires. He's going to fall down to third as he's still trying to catch it. Momeyer is a long ways away. So CPEC now up into P2. Duncan has got himself a handy lead, but not so with the GT2s. A little bit of touch there.
The contact between Abrams and Salehi as they went through the Andretti hairpin. Now going through turn 3, Travis Brown with a good opportunity, thinks better of it, looking at 4. Careful not to clip that inside curve. They managed not to, but Brown really wants to go on Abrams. Can't quite get it done. You can see him poking his nose out there. Oh, a little bit of contact more as they go through turn 5.
I think he managed not to touch him once again, but he is not shy. Travis Brown is apparently either an excellent judge of these breaks or very brave. A little bit off for both Brown and for Salehi is going to hand the lead over to Abrams. And so Latvala is going to slot into third. Brown loses that position. Salehi winds up in second. One corner changes the makeup of the lead in a significant way.
Absolutely. Turn 6 is really underestimated when you go to practice this course. And as soon as you take it the first time, you realize how challenging it is, but also how crucial it is, because that ends up putting you onto the second longest straight on the entire circuit. And so it's one of the most crucial corners, because it also sets you up for the corkscrew. So that's why we saw so many so many position changes happen right there.
And I can tell you, I don't underestimate it, because it scares the willies out of me every time I race it. Ooh, a little bit of a look there on Salehi. He could even lose second place. Corey Latvala is feeling a little bit of urgency now to maybe try and see if he could shake down a win.
Absolutely. Latvala's got a really good opportunity because Abrams starting to streak away. Once again, Abrams, kind of the ringer in this particular machine, switched over to the GT1 for this season, but since they're driving GT2s today, he's already got a second gap over Salehi. So Latvala, if he feels like he's got pace on Salehi, he's got to make the move now.
Yeah, he hasn't won since Okayama. Up the hill, not quite close to the rear of Salehi's dark blue Porsche. Brown, although not able to make inroads himself. Now they've got Schulem approaching again. Last time he came up behind them, it didn't go so well. Did he learn his lesson?
We're about to find out, because he's not going to be able to pass them until they get through turn 10. So they go through the rainy curve now. And now taking turn 10, Schulem is going to have to take an opportunity here or wait for this front straightaway. Let's see what he decides.
Last time it was through here that he tried to take the opportunity to send him off into the gravel. This time he waits patiently, and he'll give a much better chance. So this should be at least, hopefully, a little more calm.
Well, yes, but also we have Salehi blocking off that inside lane, so Schulem had to take a little bit of a deeper inside lane. Look at this Latvala coming up behind. Oh, contact between everyone, but they all managed to keep it together. Good driving from everyone to keep off of each other there.
And the bellows close. Man, Brown getting ever so close under the braking. Looks like he backed it off after that one. I think he scared himself. Latvala can focus forward a little more now, trying to see if he can get by that 15. These guys are clearly used to having that ABS on the RSR, but not so here in the Cayman.
And BJ Fulton actually starting to sneak up this battle as well. So it's now a four-way fight for this second position as Salehi continues to run away. We're going to take a look on board with BJ as he's heading up towards the corkscrew. A little bit of smoke on the apex of the corkscrew off of 8 and 8A. So as we go downhill, BJ Fulton, I mean, it's a two-story drop, and you can really feel it in these cars.
A little bit of smoke we saw was from our leader, Jacob Abrams, but he navigated the corkscrew successfully. Since he's gotten clean air, the 728 is checked out. It's already 1.7 seconds, and you can still see him from onboard Fulton, but he's way up there. Look at that. He is a speck.
And we just had a spin. Aaron Edwards has gone around to the final corner, managed to keep it together, so fortunately not hitting the wall. but that was really close.
Back to Momeyer now. This is third in the GT1s. Rondeau trying to recover after his off track and off of the final turn. He was mighty. Much better exit over the 96. Is this going to give him the shot? He'll get his nose in. Going to take hard braking down into the Andretti hairpin. Lock up from the dark red 96. And Rondeau's back onto the podium.
Good move from Rondeau to make that pass on Momeyer. Momeyer starting to pull back a little bit. And we're going to head back up to that second position battle in the GT2 class because it's very tight. And they've got the leader, Jad Duncan, who's coming up behind them. BJ Fulton's going to pull over and let him go before the corkscrew. This is going to get spicy, Joe.
Yeah, this is probably the worst place that Duncan could find them because there's not really any way to get past them until he gets onto the front stretch unless he gets very aggressive. Good news is he's got a gap over CPEC of about 4 seconds. He can afford to give away a little bit of time. Dives it underneath Brown. That's one. Can he get Lotvilla at the last corner? No. He's going to wait till he goes off of it.
It's really disadvantageous for BJ Fulton and Brown as they both got past there at inopportune moments because now Lotvilla and Salehi are able to keep going and there's a gap of about a second between them. Look at this. Lotvilla taking a look to the inside. Salehi has to cover it off. It's going to shorten his apex, but Lotvilla sticks his nose a little bit in. Can't quite get it done there. Riding on board with him now as he chases down Salehi as they start to get lapped by the faster class. Oh, and BJ Fulton and, Travis Brown and Matthew Sipek almost made contact there. Sipek off track a little bit.
I think they did actually make contact. Under braking, Sipek put wheels into the dirt and turned into him. Let's take a look at the replay. Just miscalculated.
Gets into the dirt just a little bit with that left front and just speared him straight into the side there.
Very lucky that neither of them wrecked from that one. Doesn't look like the contact hurt the cars too much as they're both still keeping pace. Although Brown has fallen off of Lotville, I put that more up to the traffic than anything. Rondeau has 10 seconds to get up to CPEC, but only half a second back to Momeyer. Still fending him off. Much quicker out of the corkscrew. In fact, yeah. Momeyer lost a good bit of time.
Momeyer trying to just hang on to the back of Rondeau as Rondeau tries to claw his way up to CPEC up ahead of him. So it's going to be a challenge for Momeyer to hang on to the back, especially if he makes mistakes like that one. It's so easy to make through the corkscrew and through Rainy. If you get the corkscrew wrong, you feel like you want to push to try and make up time in Rainy Curve, and that can often lead to further mistakes or even spins. We see it in professional racing as well. It's one of those sectors that just really needs to be respected as a race car driver. You want to make sure you get yourself fully settled if you make a mistake going into the corkscrew so Rainy doesn't catch you out.
An update for fans of Jerry Freckleton. He did take to the track. He's currently running 6th. He's about 38 seconds behind the leader, but he is, I think, it looks like maybe only 15, 16 seconds behind Momeyer. Not easy to make up, but you never know, especially with how many drivers this track has already bitten.
Absolutely. So Freckleton doing a good job of recovering.
Oh, sorry, Rondeau was off. Rondeau was off through turn 6 again, allowing Momeyer to get back into 3rd.
And this is a scary moment for Rondeau. He manages to save it, but watch this. Clips the inside curb, it makes him loose. It spears him towards the tire barrier, but he's able to recover and get back on track. That's some impressive driving from Rondeau right there. But he actually takes it too deep into the corkscrew as well right after this, so he lost even more time, Joe.
We come back live. Rondeau down to 4th, has to make up about 3.5 seconds to reach Johnny. This is going to be a valuable podium rather for this 96. Ooh, we had a spin from the 483.
Yeah, this is through turn 10, Joe. It looks like he gets loose off of Rainy. He clips. Oh, he actually goes wide, then gets loose, slides it, and hits the inside tire barrier here. That off road, and so he has to recover. But he's just not been having a good day, has Hajendik.
Yeah, considering he put it on pole It's a bit of a wasted opportunity for him. And we can't take our eyes off of this one. Salehi might not have the speed to keep up with Abrams, but he's got the wherewithal to hold back Latvala and others. Actually, this is Momeyer behind him right now, so only one car that he's got to play defense on instead of the multitude that he had before.
That was a good move for Momeyer to actually wait and go through turn 6 behind these guys. He's got 14. He's got 15 seconds up to CPEC up ahead of him, so he's got a long way to wait. Here comes Rondeau. Rondeau's going to be a little bit more urgent because that's Momeyer right up ahead, so he takes the line away from Latvala, and Latvala's going to fall back by about half a tenth.
Little hot down into the corner. Certainly got the bit between his teeth and is hustling the car. Cuts it down to a second and a half. So the battle between Momeyer and Rondeau continues at the same time that Salehi's and Latvala's continues into Andretti. Latvala's been oh so close. Gets right up to that exhaust, but can't quite get the overtake.
Yeah, Latvala tries a traditional line through the Andretti hairpin, whereas Salehi is going for the double apex. And because it's more than 180 degrees, the Andretti hairpin, Salehi's line actually doesn't lose him any time because of how long you are sitting on the brakes and rotating through the center of the corner. So Latvala, he's trying to get more speed into the corner, but since he can't carry it out, it's not actually benefiting him that much. So very interesting to see those different lines. They've got Larry Haas behind them. He's currently the last car out on track. He's actually a couple laps down from me.
Oh, sorry. Adam Fulton just got turned by Brown, and Brown's incident made BJ Fulton go off track. So both Fultons involved.
This happens up ahead of them, actually, with, here we go with the RSR. So this is actually going to be Travis Brown getting, wow, he takes a very traditional line. I'm not sure what Adam was doing through that corner necessarily. He was very slow through there. And so Travis Brown takes the corner, and then BJ Fulton comes up behind and gets pushed off wide.
So it started with one of the Fultons and it ended with the other one having to take evasive action, unfortunately. We got to go to Latvala. Latvala is right behind Salehi, and he's looking like he's got his best shot yet to try and take this one away. Bayern is deep into Andretti. They're almost going to come together, but off the corner, a nose ahead goes to Latvala. He'll be on the outside of 3 here. Can he get the job done? A little bit too much curve for the 15, and he finally slots in behind him.
Absolutely, and while we were watching that, Rondeau made it past Momeyer. We don't have to go to it, but just another pass. But look at this. Salehi's still right on the back of Latvala. Might try and outbreak him here to 5.
Not quite close enough, but he does send him in deep. Latvala will be under threat. How brave is he? Corey covers him off. He doesn't want him to try and take the inside, but this could be the over-under. A lot of curve for Corey, and he's just going to push the side as they come together, and a massive accident for Salehi.
Gigantic accident. Salehi up and over multiple times. Latvala and Salehi losing that second position. Travis Brown now inherits it. Oh my goodness, let's look at this again.
Bayern was setting him up perfectly. Oh no. And then just didn't estimate it quite right.
That is some hefty damage for both of those drivers. I mean, I'm surprised Salehi's car is still driving after tumbling 5 or 6 times. That is impressive damage. But I guess Salehi's going to keep going and try and, salvage something here. Still sitting in 5th position with Alan Stead about a second and a half behind him.
So that moves BJ Fulton up into 3rd after he had to scurry off in turn 6 as well. Taking a look at the fight between Oviatt and Stodd. Haven't really looked at them hardly at all this race. So much has been happening around them.
Absolutely. It's important to note, though, this race is almost finished, Joe. Under 7 minutes to go here. We haven't mentioned the time yet, but it's been going by quite quickly. Oviatt and Stodd now battling together, and that's Salehi just up ahead of them. And Larry Haas, no wait, that's Latvala, who's very slow because of his own damage. So now we've got these 4 cars tucked under a blanket for the 4th position, and Stodd and Oviatt have a really good opportunity to get top 5s here.
Route turn 6 once again, the scene of the accident last time. But Salehi is going to be able to hold him back. Allen has got it within about half a second of Corey. But as they duck down through the corkscrew, can he close that last little gap in and try to attack with only 6 minutes left to go?
It's now a 3-car fight. Oviatt unfortunately cut the inside of the corkscrew. Easy enough to do here. So now it's between Stott, Lafayette, and Salehi. Salehi leading this group 4th, 5th, and 6th on track for the GT2s.
I'm pretty certain they're going to be caught by Duncan before this race is over, so they might get 1 lap less than anticipated if he is able to catch up to them. As they come into Andretti, Duncan just went off of the final corner, very strong into there. We've seen this before, that Latvala loves the braking down into the Andretti hairpin. It is his strong suit.
Duncan's lapping about 10 seconds lap faster than these guys, so definitely should pass him unless he gets held up a little bit. So watching this battle, Latvala is going to have to make a move here. Stat actually starting to fall back from these two guys who had a gigantic incident. So it's impressive driving for both of them. Latvala looking up the inside once again. So here we go. Let's see what happens up to the scene of the crime one more time.
Time doesn't quite have the over-under that he was looking for there. So he falls away from him, and looks like second place might actually be changing hands potentially. Bolton, when did he catch up to Travis Brown?
I have no idea, but it's quite epic right now. Travis Brown starting to fall into the clutches of Fulton. Remember, Fulton inherited the position from Brown inherited the position from Salehi and Latvala when they had their own incidents. So now we see Fulton putting pressure on Brown for that second step on the podium. Silver medal looks good for Fulton.
Michael Robon, who is a lapped car, trying to stay out of the way, almost gets some overlap. BJ Fulton going deep down into the Andretti hairpin. Less than a car length between them and only 4 minutes to go.
Really tight stuff for sure, as Brown gets a much better exit off of 3 than Fulton gets into the grass just a little bit. Fulton takes quite a bit of curb at the inside of 4. You can do that a couple times. Too many times, it's going to be a real risk for you. But Fulton's starting to fall back a little bit from Brown here.
Seems like this has been one of the make or break portions of the track through turn 6. Can either of them get a better run over the other? Oh, they are dead even through there. Nice and tidy for both cars to decide who is best of the rest behind Jacob Abrams, who is pulled off to an 11-second lead past both of them.
Yeah, Abrams just so much more comfortable in this position. Oh, look at this. Here comes Fulton around the outside of Rainey. Gonna try and do the over-under here and probably get a late break on turn 10. He gets pushed out wide, has to take a wide line. That's gonna make Travis Brown hold on to the position as they go through the final turn. But this is gonna start to get very exciting here in the closing couple of laps.
In fact, we might be 2 laps to go, might be 3. Because our leader, Jad Duncan, is coming to the line now, trying to lap that battle we've been watching earlier with Latvala. In fact, that slowed up Latvala, unfortunately, in a big way. And now Salehi is far up the road from him.
That's Jad Duncan going past Salehi. Salehi getting held up just a little bit, but not nearly as much as Latvala, so it's going to be about half a second between those two drivers. As Jad Duncan still with 2:19 on the clock. This should be his penultimate lap, which should be white flag next time, I believe, Jim?
It is going to be tight because I think at a minute 20 per lap, he crossed very close with 2:40 to go. Yeah, they could wind up with one more lap than anybody thought, and he's already lapped our battle that we had been watching between Salehi, Latvala, and Stad. I don't think he's going to catch up to Travis Brown and BJ Fulton. No, 1 to go. It'll be 1 to go. Looks like. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
It's going to be 1 to go for him for sure, because he won't cross the line before the 120 mark. But here's the bat as we see him coming through. Here we go, coming to the white flag, Joe.
Oh, and poor Jerry Freckleton nosed it into the wall pretty hard, so hopefully he can limp this thing around to the finish. Chad Duncan takes the white flag. It's not for position in front of him. At Shulam, a lap down. Just has to circulate one more time. And Jacob Abrams actually, well, is he going to be ahead of every other car by a full lap, because Duncan is starting to close in on BJ Fulton and Travis Brown. If he gets by them, then Jacob Abrams will have nobody to challenge him on the final lap.
I think Chad is getting close. He's about 3.5 seconds back, but he's got Larry Haas in between him. So we'll see what Chad does. He can't wait up too long. Oh!
That was Travis Brown that we were on board with. That's going to give away the spot to BJ Fulton. Here comes Duncan up behind him now. And that separation may have just put the nail in the coffin for Travis Brown's hope at getting second place. We're on board with Duncan. And something happened to CPEC handing second to Rondeau. We'll have to check that later on. CPEC seemed to have had a problem in turn 6. Losing second place on the final lap. Chad Duncan starting from 4th on the grid. Who would have thought the 981 takes the win here at Laguna Seca, and we've got pretty much a whole lap for Jacob Abrams to come around.
So he doesn't have a whole lap. Is this battle for 4th place between Lafala Stad and Salehi? Stad actually spins out, so Salehi actually fell back quite a few positions. It's side by side as they go across the line. Michael Johnson's going to take no, actually Salehi is going to hold on to 6th position over Johnson, but Salehi, a very storied race for him for sure.
Lotful up to 4th with that. And in that incident with CPEC, Momeyer got by, starting from way back in 8th up to 3rd for him. Fantastic job for the 36. Freckleton is going to limp home. He will take 6 as Jacob Abrams is following him. That's Doug Baccignone. He is not for position. That's a lap down car. The 728. It's been a long time since he's seen victory lane. And I think he is going to be celebrating in a big way as he comes around the final corner. Jacob Abrams wins here in California.
That's a drive for Jacob for sure. His comfortability with this car absolutely came into play here.
Fulton is going to finish in 2nd. Looks like Brown will be able to complete that last lap with them. That's going to take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Laguna Seca, and here for round 11 in the Porsche Owners Club Series, Chad Duncan took another victory, and he started from 4th, ahead of Mark Rondeau, who started from the pole but wound up in 2nd. John Momeyer was a well-earned 3rd, keeping consistent out there, climbing from 8th. Sepek, who looked like he was going to be on the podium all the way until the last lap, had a late incident and wound up 4th. Fulton was P5, followed by Jerry Freckleton, mysteriously starting from pit lane, finishing on the lead lap at least, but he'll have to settle for 6th. Lap down for Shulam, Edwards, and Slavic, who rounded out your field of GT1s.
Yep. Then we got Jacob Abrams, who finishes for the win with the GT2 class, with BJ Fulton coming home in 2nd after battling with Travis Brown for most of the race. Corey Lotfula comes home in the 4th position with Eric Opiat in 5th. Brian Salehi had trouble through Rainy Curve on the penultimate lap and ends up coming home in the 6th position ahead of Michael W. Johnson, but just by a nose length. We got Alan Stadt, who ended up spinning on the final corner, coming home in 8th position. Then we got Eric Hajendick and Matt Hollander, as well as Doug Baccignoni, who unfortunately had some trouble, and Larry Haas and Michael Robin also had their own problems at the end of this race.
We've got our winner ready to talk to us, Jad Duncan. And Jad, you started from 4th, and then it seemed like those in front of you were in a little too much of a hurry for themselves.
Yeah, it was more a matter of not losing, I think, instead of winning this race. I just kept it on the track.
Indeed, and it seemed to pay off at a place like Laguna Seca. How tough was it coming to such a technical circuit like this in a car that you're not necessarily as familiar in?
I actually prefer this car. I think it reacts a lot more realistically, so I almost find it easier to drive. Other than the brakes, you have to modulate a little bit because there's no ABS. The car itself is actually more controllable and more realistic, in my opinion, so I kind of prefer it.
Well, it's a valuable victory for you, obviously, but when you switch back to the other car, do you think you can keep that up in Sebring, especially since we've got such a long break to the next one?
Hopefully. I've finally been getting better with the sim and getting the VR up to date, so if I get some time to practice, looking forward to it. Haven't driven fast on Sebring before, so we'll see how it goes, because I think Mark is the fastest driver right now. So hopefully he keeps giving them to me.
All right. Well, congratulations on the win. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for this victory?
Actually, I want to thank my dad, because I'm using his sim. My computer decided to die and is in for warranty repair. So I came up to his house and I'm driving on his sim, which I think helped a little bit. It's a little better quality sim, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you have to ask to borrow it more often. Well,
exactly.
That was Jad Duncan, victor here today in the GT1 classes. Adam Lindgren has caught up with Jacob Abrams, finally back on the top step.
Yeah, Jacob, a fantastic drive today. Looks like you're held up for about the first half of that race, but then we're able to get clear into clear air and really take off. What do you think did it for you today?
Good to be back. It helps to have a car you can actually feel when it's on the limit. I think that's what did it for me. RSRs are a little devoid of feel, so it's good to be back in something that feels like a car.
Absolutely, and for this nice, fun, swap over weekend, coming home with full points has got to feel good as well.
Oh yeah, I wasn't really thinking too much about the points. I just really wanted to win here, especially after throwing it away in the GT4 last time we were here at Laguna, when I had a big lead in pole, and then I just sent it in the dirt on turn 3. So a little bit of just redemption for myself here.
It's always a challenging track, no matter what cars you're driving. But what about this track makes it very unique for the GT4, the one you're driving it here, since you seem to have a very good understanding of this machine?
It's a lot of high-speed corners that just require you to be really, really gentle with the car, just super smooth with your inputs, and it really reminds me more of endurance racing than anything, because it's just you're trying to save the tires, trying to make the car last longer, and just be super smooth through every corner, and at first I had to be a little bit aggressive, a little bit defensive, but once I got clear air, it was just easy, smooth sailing, just being super, super smooth.
Well, Jacob, thanks for talking to us, and congrats on the win. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, I just want to thank Works 2 Motorsports and POC and you guys as well. Thanks for everything.
That was Jacob Abrams, our winner for the GT2 class, and it looks like Joe Peak is going to be catching up with Mark Rondeau.
Yep, Mark, it wasn't a victory today, and it seemed like this one was a pretty tough track. Are you kind of kicking yourself as this being the one that got away, or is this more of a lesson learned kind of event for you?
I'm a little both. I'm definitely kicking myself because I gave it away. I hung in there and climbed my way back up after going off, 3 or 4 times, making some big mistakes, and I know better. I just wasn't on point on my turn and turn-ins. Hit a couple of those horrible red curbs, and fortunately didn't damage the car. Was able to hang in there and pull out second. But I'm definitely going to take something away from this and try to learn from it.
Speaking of learning, what was it like in a different class this time? Did you feel as though you got a great perspective of what the GT1 drivers often experience?
Yeah, the RSR is incredible. It doesn't have any nannies, no ABS or anything like that. So you really have to dial in your braking, and that's where I think I did a little better than most. But it's a lot of power, and this is a short, tight track, so it's easy to get out of control here in that car.
We saw that a lot. Plenty of drivers certainly look like they struggled here today. Knowing that, back to the Cayman when we head off to Sebring. Do you think you can handle the bumps there? It's a much longer track and very fast as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I like that track. The Cayman is well suited to it. You just have to set it up soft because that is a really bumpy track.
Oh boy, is it. Well, Mark, still congratulations on a podium. That was a nice recovery to get back up there. Anybody you want to thank?
Just everyone at POC, Matt Hollander for putting this together, and for everyone for playing and having fun. It's a great experience.
That was Mark Rondeau taking his Hot Wheels car onto the podium today. And second place in the GT2s was BJ Fulton. Adam has caught up with him.
Absolutely. BJ, very good drive from you today for sure, but I'm sure you didn't expect to slot that far forward. And you actually had a very interesting moment with Travis and the other Fulton, Adam Fulton, as you were going through turn 6. Talk to us about that moment.
Yeah, that was a bit crazy. I guess it looked like Travis got in the back of Adam a little bit there. And I just, went straight and careened off the course at very high speeds. I was very surprised I survived that, but happy I did. And somehow Travis still ended up in front of me.
Absolutely, but you were able to get past him in the end and come home with the second position. Is it the fresh car, or is it the track? What do you think it is that helped you get up to that second position today?
I don't know. It looked like my tires were holding out a little bit better at the end, and I was able to close in on Travis. But it was hard getting around him, and I was ultimately glad to get by him when he was off track. That was a lot easier.
And what are your thoughts about driving this GT2 machine? Give you a little bit more perspective on what these guys in the GT2 class are running this year?
Yeah, it's definitely nuts. I mean, I feel like these things are pretty raceable. You can be side by side because they're so much smaller. But at the same time, they are kind of drifting around the track, and it's really hard to be very precise. You kind of have to throw it in and hope.
Well, BJ, congratulations on the second place today and a good points day as well. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, of course. As usual, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Century Financial Consultants, Octavio Tequila, and Matt Hollander and POC for putting all this on. I'm very happy that they're able to put all that work in and contribute and get this stuff on the air.
Well, thanks for talking to us, BJ, and congrats on second place. That was BJ Fulton, and next up we have John Momar, who finished third in the GT1 class today.
Yep, John, you came into this race trying to chip away at Freckleton's lead, and going from 8th to a podium certainly seems to me to be a good way to go about that.
It was intense. I had Mark come off the track a couple times and pass me back. I was just trying to stay on the track. I was hoping people would make mistakes. In the beginning of the race there, we had a big wreck going out of turn 4, I think, and was lucky to come out of there straight. I didn't know if the car was damaged, what was going on, but as you can see from my times, I was really consistent, 121s all day long.
Absolutely, and that certainly was impressive. Now, you, unlike a lot of the drivers, hail from Club West. Have you had much chance to race here in real life? Did you get much experience at this course?
Laguna Seca is one of the great courses to go to. We try to go there every year, and as the POC, we get to drive my Boxster Spec on the track, and have done it many times. Love the course and enjoy it tremendously. It was a lot different going this fast.
I'm sure, yeah. RSR, not quite what most people are able to hop in every day and wheel around here. So that'll clip down things a little bit to Freckleton. Do you see yourself being able to continue that trend? And there is so much of the season left. You do have plenty of opportunities to try and get a little closer.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there's more time where there's more time to practice and try to be as fast as these guys are. The time they spend, time I spend, or the couple seconds faster they are, it always hits me at the track starting later in the pack. But, again, just trying to be consistent, do that the whole season and see where it ends up at the end.
Well, again, congratulations on a podium, John, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you when we come back in, about 3 weeks' time.
Thank you very much. Got a shout out to all the family watching and Precision Motion for taking care of the car, and you guys for broadcasting, and all the volunteers at POC that make us a great organization.
That was John Momeyer with a third place finish. Finally, we've got Adam talking to third place in the GT2's Travis Brown.
Absolutely, Travis. Fantastic race today, to be honest. I mean, I know you had a couple of scary moments, especially through turn 6, about halfway, but finishing ahead of your other championship competitors has got to feel pretty good today.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely take it. And like you said, had some a few moments. Had the too wide through the corkscrew with Jacob early on, and then a couple tangles with some GTE cars through turn 6. But yeah, lived to survive, so I'm happy.
Absolutely, Travis. And next week we actually head off to Sebring, and you're going to be jumping back into the GT1. Talk to me about your thoughts about heading off to that particularly bumpy course.
Yeah, no, it's actually a favorite. I love Sebring, and it's especially I've got a motion rig, so feel those bumps. It's an epic track. I love it.
Absolutely, and a fantastic finish today. Once again, third place for you in the GT2 machines. And jumping over the GT2s, what's the difference between them and the GT1s as far as driving is concerned?
Well, my favorite part is ABS, just being able to lean on it and not have to feather the brake so much with the GTE cars. But no, that's pretty much it. And then yeah, you can thrash them pretty good, but it's definitely way more momentum based for sure.
Well, fantastic finish again. Once again, Travis, is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Actually, I got to thank Jacob and BJ, and then also Corey. Had some great battles out there, but we all kept it clean. I loved it.
Well, fantastic finish once again, Travis, and we look forward to seeing you next round.
All right, thanks, guys.
That was Travis Brown, our third place finisher in the GT2 class today. Back to you, Joe.
That's going to close us out. So we want to give a big thank you to the sponsors of this league, which of course includes Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. And Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to OctavioTequila.com and purchase today. And finally, Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretired.com. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to Julala, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media through the outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support the channel, check out our merchandise store. It's simply simracingmerch.com/GSRC, but we keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because in a few weeks' time, we'll be coming back at Sebring, but it'll be Monday, June 21st, 11 p.m. Eastern. So take a little break, enjoy some summer. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.